Ever wondered if it's too late to dive into the world of coding? Maybe you're considering a career shift, or you want to understand the tech landscape better, or, you just feel this pull towards creating something new.
Yeah.
We took a good look at a whole range of sources for you. Everything from expert articles to university course outlines, even chats among people actually learning to code to really get to the bottom of this.
That's right. Yeah, we wanted a full picture, so we dug into articles from Skill Crush and Web Teacher. They talk about learning to code and how computer science education has changed quite a bit.
Okay.
We also looked at the U.S. Department of Labor stats, to see where the job growth really is.
Important stuff.
Definitely. And course descriptions from the University of Wisconsin-Madison gave us a feel for what's being taught right now. Then there were Reddit discussions. Always great for those real-world takes on learning at different ages and how CS has evolved.
Ah, Reddit. Good source for that.
Totally. And finally, we looked at an interview with a Stanford computer science professor and a research paper focusing specifically on older adults learning programming.
So our mission here with this deep dive is really to give you a clear, insightful, and honestly, an encouraging look at what it's like to learn to code, especially if you're not starting out, super young.
Exactly.
We want to highlight the actual opportunities, what you can realistically expect in tech, and hopefully put some of those age worries to rest.
Precisely. We want to give you a solid grasp of what's involved and what really is possible if you decide to learn, no matter your age.
Okay, then. Let's get straight to it. Is there an age limit to becoming a coder? Let's unpack this.
Well, let's kick off with a very direct answer. Skill Crush.
Yeah.
They're absolutely clear.
Yeah.
Quote, "No, you're not too old to learn to code or become a coder. In fact, there isn't an age limit for a beginner joining the world of computer programming." Boom.
Okay. That's fantastic to hear right off the bat. And it's not just a vague statement, right? Those Reddit discussions you mentioned.
Oh yeah, they were full of really inspiring stories. We saw people in their 30s, 40s, even 50s sharing their successes.
Really? Like what?
Well, one person started at Phony 3 and now works as a developer. Like a whole new career.
Wow, at 43.
Yeah. And another released their first Android app just before turning 50.
That's amazing. Those are real people doing it. It really makes the point, doesn't it?
Absolutely. These aren't abstract ideas. They're, concrete examples. And what's also interesting is Skill Crush points out that people over 40, they often bring this wealth of valuable, transferable soft skills.
Oh, okay. Transferable skills. Like what specifically?
Well, they're talking about things like communication, time management, critical thinking, skills you tend to develop pretty well after years in, any profession or just life experience.
Right.
And these are incredibly valuable in tech. I mean, think about if you've managed teams, you probably get project workflows, how to break down big tasks.
Directly applicable.
Totally. Clear communication is vital in coding teams, and that critical thinking, essential for debugging tricky code. So it's not just about learning the languages. You're likely bringing a strong foundation already.
That makes a lot of sense. It kind of reframes the whole starting over idea. Your past experience isn't wasted. It can actually be an advantage.
Exactly.
Now, looking bigger picture, what about the job market? Is it, worth the time and effort to learn coding later in life, career-wise?
Yeah, that's a really important angle. And if you look at the economic side, the data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's pretty compelling.
How so?
They're projecting 15% growth in computer and IT jobs. That's between 2021 and 2031.
15%. Wow, that sounds like a lot.
It is. It adds up to over 680,000 new jobs.
Whoa, okay.
And the pay isn't bad either. The median salary for these jobs back in 2021 was around $97,430. Both Skill Crush and the Department of Labor mentioned that figure.
97,000. Okay. So strong growth and good earning potential.
Seems like it. It suggests the field's not just growing, but it's, financially rewarding too.
So it definitely sounds like real opportunities are out there. Are there specific types of tech jobs that are seeing extra high growth?
Yes, absolutely. The Department of Labor pointed out a few roles specifically. Information security analysts. Huge growth expected 34.7%.
34%?
Yeah. Web developers also strong at 30.3% and software developers at 26.0%.
Okay, those are big numbers.
Exactly.
Especially security.
Right. It really reflects, the growing threat of cyber attacks and the huge need for people to protect data.
That's really useful info. If someone's thinking career change, those sound like areas to maybe focus on.
Could be, yeah.
Now let's shift gears a little. Computer science itself, It feels like it's always changing. How has the way it's taught or what's considered important kind of evolved over the last, say, 20 years or so?
Oh, this is where things get really interesting. Based on WebTeacher and those Reddit threads,
Yeah.
CS education has gone through a pretty major transformation.
In what ways? Like, what are the big differences if you compare learning now versus then?
Well, for one, there's been a big shift in the level of programming that was stressed. Back then, much more focus on low-level stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, think microcode, the really basic instructions for the processor. And languages like C were often the most advanced thing taught extensively. One Redditor even mentioned using a textbook, algorithms and data structures, all written in C.
wow. Sounds intense. What was the actual learning like? Like, day to day?
Very different. Students often had to write code on paper first.
On Teeper.
Yeah, and try to figure out if it would work in their heads. Because actual computer time, lab time, was super limited. Someone on Reddit remembered signing up for like an hour slot in the university lab.
Just an hour.
Yeah, and the pressure to get your code running in that tiny window. Plus, there was a much bigger emphasis on understanding the theory, the algorithms, before you even touched a computer.
So less hands-on initially.
Way less.
Yeah.
Compare that to today. You've got constant access to computers, endless resources online,
Right.
and the curriculum's changed too. More focus now on complex systems, higher-level languages, JavaScript, Python, Java, and more on, like, software design principles, security, ethics.
Ethics, interesting. What about things like building websites or working with databases? Was that a big part of it back then?
Not so much. SQL, the language for databases, storing and getting data, that was pretty new. XML didn't even exist.
Huh.
Someone on Reddit described data handling back then as kind of clunky compared to now. And graphics, that was mostly research lab stuff.
Really?
Yeah, what an undergrad might play with today for fun, like 3D rendering. That would have been a serious research project. Someone recalled it taking minutes just to render a 20 picture of a ball in the early 90s.
Minutes. Wow, that really puts it in perspective how far things have come.
Doesn't it?
So for someone learning now, even if their background is totally different, the current landscape just sounds way more accessible. More focused on practical skills, maybe?
Exactly. The emphasis is shifted more towards building complex things by integrating existing pieces. And for many coding jobs now, deep knowledge of really low-level languages like assembly isn't the main requirement anymore.
Okay.
Plus, the rise of interpreted languages can make starting out feel a bit less intimidating, too.
That's definitely encouraging. But what about the specific hurdles someone older might face? That research paper by Philip Guo looked into this, right?
Yes, Guo's study had some really valuable insights,
Yeah.
both into motivations and frustrations older learners might encounter.
What kind of challenges did they find?
Well, some people mentioned a feeling of maybe cognitive abilities declining compared to younger folks. Also, sometimes a lack of social interaction with tutors or other students. And of course, the big one, keeping up with how fast technology changes.
Those all sound like valid concerns. Did this study offer any solutions or ways around them?
It did, yeah. For the cognitive aspect, it stressed how important learning materials are. They need scaffolding, building step by step, lots of repetition to make things stick, and tons of examples.
Makes sense. Build confidence.
Right. The key is providing support without being condescending. They also floated the idea of programming tools designed specifically for older learners to maybe reduce errors. And for the social interaction part, workshops seem promising.
Workshops, like in person.
Either in person or even online video workshops, but specifically designed for that age group. Learning with peers in a similar boat can be really motivating.
Yeah, I can see that. Sharing experiences, helping each other out. What about connecting with younger people already in tech? Skill Crush mentioned that too, did they?
They did. Skill Crush basically says good communication is key. Join in at workplace events with mixed ages, really listen to different perspectives, and be clear when you share your ideas. It helps bridge any generational communication gaps.
Okay, just be open and communicate clearly. And the fast pace of tech, that feels overwhelming sometimes, maybe especially if you're starting later.
Totally. Skill Crush advises, well, managing your expectations. Plan your learning in smaller bits. Take breaks, super important to avoid burnout. And stay organized.
So find a sustainable pace.
Exactly. Don't feel like you have to learn everything at once. And they also stressed building a portfolio, projects you've actually built to show what you can do.
Right, practical proof.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like being strategic, being proactive about how you learn is key. Now, we've talked challenges, but what about the actual ways someone can learn? Is it just back to university?
Oh, absolutely not. Our sources highlighted a whole range of paths. There's the whole self-taught route versus more traditional education.
Self-taught. Does that actually work for getting a job?
It can. Someone on Reddit shared they landed their first tech job after just 3 months of focused self-study.
3 months. Wow.
Yeah. So that path offers tons of flexibility, and obviously there's a massive amount of info online, free or very cheap.
But are there downsides to going it alone?
There can be. That article comparing the routes mentioned imposter syndrome, that feeling of doubting yourself, feeling like a fraud.
Ah, yes, imposter syndrome. Heard of that.
It's common, especially for self-taught folks. You might also end up with gaps in your fundamental knowledge if you're not careful. And just the sheer volume of stuff online can be overwhelming. Hard to know what to learn when.
Okay. What about the university route then? The pros and cons there?
Well, traditional education gives you that structured path, right?
Yeah.
Dedicated teachers, a comprehensive overview of CS principles, good foundation.
But
But
Yeah.
it's a big commitment, time and money. And there's a chance some tech you learn might be a bit dated by the time you graduate, just because things move so fast.
right, trade-offs either way. What about things like coding boot camps? We hear about those a lot.
Yeah, they came up too.
Mm.
Skill Crush mentions coding schools as one way to tackle learning challenges. And they even talked about their own program that comes with a job guarantee.
I guarantee. Interesting.
Yeah. And Reddit discussions also mention boot camps. For some people, they can be a faster route to getting job-ready skills. But, it's important to remember they aren't an automatic job ticket for everyone.
Good point. But no matter which path someone picks, it sounds like there's no shortage of actual resources to learn from.
Absolutely none. Across all the sources, just tons of mentions. Free online courses, Coursera, Free Code Camp, Khan Academy, the Odin Project.
Okay, lots of free options.
Yeah. Then paid courses on places like Udemy, books, of course, that Redditor mentioned, the classic algorithms and data structures, text still being used sometimes.
Right.
YouTube tutorials, obviously, official documentation for languages, and online communities like Stack Overflow and Reddit, invaluable for getting unstuck and connecting with others.
It really does sound like there's a learning style and a resource for pretty much everyone. Now, that GWO study, it also looked at why older adults decide to learn programming. What were the motivations?
Yeah, it found motivations often tied to their stage of life. A big one was just keeping the mind active, challenged, maybe to help maintain cognitive sharpness.
Makes sense.
Many also wanted to make up for maybe not studying CS earlier or wanting to connect with younger family members who are deep into tech.
Oh, interesting. Connecting with family.
Yeah. And some were looking to boost their current job prospects or just adapt to changes in their own industries.
We even saw that Reddit mentions someone in their 50s learning coding as a hobby to automate stock trading.
Right. Pretty specific, huh? And that interview with Mehran Sahami, the Stanford professor, he brought up another really important shift.
What was that?
He pointed out that many students today are drawn to CS because they see it as a powerful tool. A tool to solve real-world social problems.
So not just tech for tech's sake, but for impact.
Exactly. It's not just about sitting alone writing code anymore. It's about potentially making a tangible difference in society.
That's a powerful motivator. He also talked about how understanding tech is just becoming important for everyone, didn't he? Even if you don't want to be a coder.
Yes, exactly. He discussed how, a basic grasp of tech is getting crucial just to navigate the modern world. Think about ethics around algorithms, data privacy, the massive influence of big tech platforms.
Right, it affects everything.
It really does. So even if your goal isn't a coding career, having some understanding of these concepts is just increasingly valuable, pretty much whatever you do.
Okay, so bringing this all together, it seems really clear. Age, it's just not the barrier people might think it is when it comes to learning code or getting into the tech world.
Not at all. The industry's growing, the learning resources are everywhere, and people of all ages are finding their own compelling reasons to jump in.
So whether you're looking for that new career or maybe a really stimulating hobby or just want to understand this technology that's shaping everything, learning to code can be incredibly rewarding, really at any stage of life.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And, as tech keeps evolving, keeps weaving itself deeper into our lives, it really makes you think, how might your unique experiences, your perspective gained over your life, how might that actually contribute to the future of tech, regardless of when you start learning? It's definitely something to mull over.